Some snow coming into parts of Wales and southwest England. Again, many other areas dry and fine on Friday. But after a frosty start, temperatures struggling to 2 or 3 degrees for most.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine how £50,000 in cash from us could make your new year go with a bang. From treats to holidays to fun times with the family, a totally tax-free £50,000 in cash could make you feel alive in 2025. And just one entry into the Great British Giveaway really could make £50,000 cash all yours. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Have you noticed that more and more stores are closing? Well, last year, apparently 13,000 stores closed for the last time on the high street.
Well, experts warn the worst is still to come for our small businesses.
Well, let's talk to retail expert Jeremy Baker. Good morning to you, Jeremy. How bad is it and what can be done?
Well, nothing can be done about it. Retail is like that. It's a boom and bust operation. So last year, let's say you had a shop and it was booming. This year, the consumer can just change their mind. They don't need to come back to your shop ever again.
Well, it is sad, Jeremy, because our high streets are the beating heart of our communities, aren't they? And for many people, I know I can relate to my high street, it is such a depressing sight, walking down there and seeing them all boarded up and closed down.
But how often do you walk down that boarded up high street? I think people move on to something else. The online world is very big, and lots of other things are very exciting. And so people, you know, the shop. I like to go to my GP in a shopping centre and get my tests done there rather than tramp off all the way to the GP, for example. And children could go to little schools in the high street. I've seen that happen already. So lots of things could happen to the high street. It could be much more a social centre, much more kind of like pubs, coffee shops, all that. Charities. I don't see anything wrong with charities taking over. But the idea of this shop-centred high street, finished, that's gone. Never coming back. Goodbye. It's not sad, it's just life.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
the eyes to the right were 111, the nose to the left 364. So the noes have it, the noes have it. Unlock.
shame on the Labour MPs who voted against a Pakistani rape gang inquiry.
Telford, Rochdale, Bristol, Derby, Aylesbury, Oldham, Bradford, Peterborough, Coventry, Middlesbrough, Newcastle, Ramsgate tell all of these people to vote against a national inquiry into the gang.
Every single Labour MP voted against it. How can they sleep at night? And
a shocking three-part series, giving a voice to those at the centre of a devastating lie.
Shame on Channel 4, who ran a documentary last night on a fake grooming gang. And
smearing people.
Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp is live with me at 9:30 p.m. on this rape gang issue. Plus,
I feel genuinely distressed and ashamed, actually, of some of the things that patients are experiencing.
the NHS is crying about its annual winter crisis, but do you have any sympathy? Also tonight, Believe it or not, it is the 5th anniversary of Megxit, apparently, so we'll get stuck into that. Plus... bomb scare in London, but what really happened? And...
these last 12 weeks, I've jumped through hoops to try and prove to you time and time again that I can adapt and change.
You're hired. The Apprentice winner, who has now joined Reform, is on my show. Plus... shocking footage emerges of the devastating California wildfires. On my panel tonight, I am joined by the Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, landlord and activist Adam Brooks, and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Oh, and can you tell me, please, what on earth is going on here?
Just wondered, I can't see it on the menu, but where do I get the Five Guys from?
Get ready, Britain, here we go. The establishment media are laughing at grooming gang victims. Next.
Good evening, I'm Sophia Wenzer with your headlines. It's just gone 9 o'clock. Labour MPs have tonight voted down a Tory demand for a new national inquiry into grooming gangs. The Commons opposed a call by Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch for a fresh probe into historical child sexual exploitation by 364 votes to 111.
The ayes to the right were 111, the noes to the left 364. So the noes have it, the noes have it. Unlock.
MPs voted down an amendment to the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill proposed by the Conservatives, which would have looked to force a statutory inquiry into grooming gangs. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp has responded, saying it's important to find out the truth.
Need a national statutory public inquiry that covers not just some towns, as previous reports have done, but covers all the towns where this happened and has the legal powers to get evidence and make witnesses appear. We need to get to the truth. Victims are asking for that, and I just don't understand why Keir Starmer and the Labour Party are refusing to initiate this proper public inquiry.
In other news, the mother of 14-year-old Kellyanne Bokassa, who was stabbed to death on a bus in south-east London, has said he was groomed by gangs after running away from care and living on the streets. His mother, Mary, says he was kind, musical and talented at drawing with a love of football. Kellyanne was attacked on a double-decker bus in Woolwich just after 2:30 p.m. yesterday. Despite efforts from police, paramedics and the London Air Ambulance, he died shortly after the attack. Detectives are working at pace to find those responsible, but no arrests have yet been made. Meanwhile, a community vigil is being held this evening at the church overlooking the bus stop where Kellyanne Bokassa died. The NHS is urging patients to attend A&E alone as rising flu cases push emergency departments to breaking point. York and Scarborough hospitals are among those asking for public support, while critical incidents have been declared across several trusts, including Liverpool, Cornwall and Birmingham. One patient reportedly waited 50 hours for a ward bed, with frontline staff describing the system as overwhelmed. Flu cases in hospitals have surged to 5,000 a day, with NHS Medical Director Sir Stephen Powis warning the pressure is relentless. And a new amber warning has been issued for snow for the southwest of England, likely to cause travel delays and stranding some vehicles and passengers. Britain's bracing for a deep freeze as temperatures are set to plunge as low as -15 degrees this week, the coldest of the winter so far and potentially the coldest January in 15 years. The Met Office has issued fresh snow and ice warnings for northern Scotland, Northern Ireland, as well as the southern counties of England, with sub-zero conditions expected nationwide. The UK Health Security Agency has also warned of rising health risks, extending its cold weather alert for England until Sunday. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Patrick.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Yet again, I find myself warning you that what you're about to hear contains some horrendous, graphic details, but I feel that we owe it to the victims to be brutally honest about the nature of the abuse that they experienced. If there was an epidemic of white British taxi drivers raping underage Pakistani girls, do you think that Channel 4 would have run a programme last night about it being fake? No. Well, here's what Channel 4 did do yesterday evening.
First saw the Facebook post, stood in the kitchen at home. It was shocking.
Ellie Williams claims she was being exploited at the hands of an Asian grooming gang.
There's a post on Facebook, you're implicated.
The threat to me now is real.
A shocking three-part series, giving a voice to those at the centre of a devastating lie.
I had all these strangers giving me abuse.
My life went upside down.
Clearly a lot of people believed that she was the true victim here.
You've told continuous lies. I've got to wonder where they've come from.
Why? There's got to be a reason.
Blew all of our minds.
The entire world is now talking about the fact tens or hundreds of thousands of working-class white girls were raped by Pakistani gangs right across Britain. And Channel 4 aired the show The Fake Grooming Scandal. How scummy is that? The detail emerging of 13-year-old girls being anally raped by hordes of Pakistani men, girls in primary school uniform being raped in Hull. And Channel 4 puts out The Fake Grooming Scandal. Heads should roll over that. And Channel 4 have got form for this. In 2004, they delayed a documentary into the abuse after police forces warned the evidence of, quotes, Asian men targeting young white girls could inflame racial tensions. Over to the BBC now. They did the same thing years ago. They put out Liar, The Fake Grooming Scandal. That's the same BBC that when the Telford grooming scandal broke, they initially only put it up on their local Shropshire page. One girl making up allegations, we do a documentary on it. Tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of girls being subjected to a conveyor belt of rape and torture by the BBC's beloved Pakistani community. That's just a local story, is it? That's just a local story. They're all at it. The dam burst on Britain's rape gang shame over the weekend, and on Monday, Keir Starmer had a press conference. The establishment media had their chance to ask about the victims, to ask about whether multiculturalism has failed, whether Keir Starmer failed in his role as Director of Public Prosecutions. They just asked him about Elon Musk.
Forgive me for going back on Musk's attacks. He said you should be in prison. You're a lawyer. That sounds libelous. Will you take legal action against him?
On Elon Musk, I do need to ask you this. He called your safeguarding minister, Jess Phillips, an evil witch. Does that sort of abuse of a minister make you feel angry?
Do you have any reaction, Prime Minister, to a post by Elon Musk this morning?
Step forward, our political editor, Christopher Hope, who actually got stuck into the detail.
Why didn't you order a national public inquiry to join the dots between 50 towns, not 6, barely mentioned in the J report? Are you afraid it might expose failings as your role as a DP?
Exactly. And last night, Jess Phillips was wheeled out by the BBC, Sky News, whose presenter Beth Rigby, I think, has actually done podcasts with her, and ITV. And all they really cared about was how she was doing.
Being in the spotlight like this and the intimation of what Elon Musk is, the disinformation, as I believe the Prime Minister referred to it as, has put out about me, it's endangering.
It's endangering you. I just want to be absolutely clear. Are you saying that as a result of some of Musk's tweets, the threat to you has gone up and things are in place to protect your safety?
Yes.
Well, eventually, one of them got round to asking if she'd actually spoken to any victims.
I haven't spoken to them. I'm very much hoping to do that and arranging that.
Oh, right. Oh, OK. That should have been the sole focus of the interview. What is she doing to sort this out? And the answer appears to be precious little, actually. The Guardian have got a lot to answer for. The truth about Asian sex gangs. This is an article that they ran. It includes quotes like, the current obsession with Asian sex gangs focuses too narrowly on one dimension to this crime, making the emergent profile of the Pakistani groomer misleading. It's also unhelpful because there are more than 1 million Pakistanis in Britain. Well, you're right, it is unhelpful, actually. The truth is unhelpful. To Guardian readers, to Channel 4 and BBC News editors, to everyone in the lovely left-wing media class who've rammed diversity, integration and multiculturalism down our throats and demonised anyone who dared criticise it and tried to silence people with concerns about Pakistanis raping young girls on an industrial scale by calling them a racist. And I've got a theory about why the establishment media are doing their best to do a PR exercise for Jess Phillips and to minimise the scandal of Pakistani rape gangs. I think they probably voted for Keir Starmer. They let the victim down decades ago, and they're letting them down again now. Let's get the thoughts from my panel this evening. We've got the Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood. We've got businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and we've got broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Mark, I'll start with you. Yeah, we're going to get stuck into the actual votes that happened later on at 10 p.m, but the way that the media has gone about this, the timing of that Channel 4 documentary.
I think your peroration there, Patrick, was particularly apposite. What's happening here is this is a complete threat to their paradigm view of the world. And the view goes something like this from the liberal metropolitan media, that a multicultural society in which people of all faiths, cultures, backgrounds, beliefs merge together will be better than the sum of the parts in all cases. We are now learning through hard reality that is not true. That doesn't mean that you need to be a monoculturalist. I mean, I would say the Indian community is integrated into the UK sensationally, the Jewish community sensationally. But I'm afraid that the entire melting pot doesn't work. And Channel 4, if you like, are basically the equivalent of the Flat Earth Society, refusing to believe photographic evidence from NASA. That's the equivalent of where they're at. It is literally that. And the Flat Earth Society refused to accept any evidence and then produce, documentaries saying that it's not true, the sun isn't doing this. And it's such a shift and a change. And this is going to, I think, be a catastrophe for the liberal legacy media, rightly so. Charlie Peters of this channel, I think, has been the heroic journalist on exposing this doggedly. And it raises some uncomfortable truths in the public domain and in Parliament today. And that's going to reset the public debate here. But I'm afraid this rather cuddly view that multiculturalism works for the betterment in all cases has been proven wrong.
That Channel 4 thing really wound me up on numerous fronts, actually. Not just the timing of it, but the fact that that story had already been told by the BBC years ago. It was a rerun. They chose now to put that rerun out.
Look, I was flicking through the channels last night and I come across that and I was horrified. I put a post on X saying how disgusting that was. Again, as a father, I think I'm the only one here with young kids. The thought of what has happened to these young girls, it's not just angered me, but it has upset me. And I think it's upset the whole nation. And thank goodness we've got someone like Elon Musk telling the world what evil has happened here, because it's been brushed under the carpet so much. And now we've got channels like Channel 4 wanting to sort of negate the whole story by using one example that was possibly fake. Now, there is possibly hundreds of thousands of young grooming gang and rape victims we are now being led to believe. One case does not negate the whole narrative. This is the biggest national scandal of my lifetime. And Channel 4, come on, this is the channel that allowed a trans woman to play a piano with his penis on TV. They're a joke. I hope they get defunded.
Nina, do you think that the establishment media are complicit in this cover-up?
No, I absolutely do not. It was a Sunday Times journalist, Andrew Norman, who broke the story in 2011. And the Times consistently had front pages, so they're about as establishment as you can get. And you mentioned that in 2004, Channel 4 delayed the broadcast of the documentary made. It was called On the Edge of the City, by the way, and it was about how mothers were trying to prevent their daughters from being groomed by these men. And they may have delayed it, because if you're advised by police or local politicians that this is not going to help whatever situation they see. No. If you are advised by the police, then you take note of it. But the fact of the matter is, they still went ahead and broadcast it. So you can't say that they cancelled it. They broadcast it. As for last night, I didn't see last night's programme, but there has to...
I think that's interesting, Nina, because at the time when the police told them, and by the way, these police forces, as we now know, were slow to act and did not do.
Yes, absolutely.
And in some cases, were actually, complicit in the cover-up. They, on the police advice, they shelved the documentary for a period of time. But with all of this going on, knowing that we were going to get a vote in Parliament tonight, or having a good idea that we were going to get a vote in Parliament tonight, they still went ahead and did that documentary last night. Do you know what that tells you about the psychology of some of these people?
Well, the fact of the matter is, you have to have balance in everything. You have to have balance, whether you like it or not. Ofcom will keep balance everywhere. And editorially, they have every right to make a decision about that.
So one case...
No, they weren't saying one case but blotted out the rest of it. They were just saying that's not all...
You have to have balance in political coverage. OK, so you probably want somebody from the government side and somebody from the opposition side to have a debate. In investigative journalism, you don't need balance. You need to be absolutely dogged.
Yes, but
when the Washington Post brought down Richard Nixon, they weren't balanced about Watergate.
No,
they went through.
They're saying the thing is that they're not saying.
You're right. The Sunday Times has done some good work here.
No,
Charlie Peters,
beyond good work. They're the ones who started it.
Is the mainstream media of this country has not been putting this front page forever and demanding and naming public officials who should be in prison for the cover-up. This, frankly, makes the post office scandal look like a rounding error from all the horrors that were... I'm wondering, Channel 4 tomorrow night might have a documentary on there was a computer that worked in one post office. I mean, it's unbelievable.
May I remind you that the most important thing in whatever we're discussing tonight is those girls and young women.
And they now need to get justice.
But then I say...
The story needs to be out there.
The story needs to be out, but let me just point out something to you as the only woman on this panel, that this is very much not just this particular story about race or culture or religion, one against another. It is a gender issue. It is men. It is men. You can take this situation. You can take a different situation in France. Giselle Pellicot.
This is about.
No. Let me just finish this. This is men. And there are some men who are like that, and they're not all Muslim.
Fine, but in this case,
but I'm saying it's more important to me. There is more important to me.
I'm sorry. There is a pattern, Adam, is there not, in at least 50 towns and cities right across Britain, of Pakistani men committing an industrial scale abuse.
It's horrendous. It's shocking. It's horrendous. It's shocking, and it should be stopped.
That is undeniable, and people, even from them communities, are admitting that is a problem within that community. Now, we've got to remember, we have councillors involved, we have policemen involved, we have MPs involved. This went all the way to Gordon Brown, and these girls were let down from the very top to the very bottom. And it's a scandal, it's a shame, and they need justice, Patrick.
They will get justice.
This is the number. This is the number.
Government has put...
hang on. This is
your mob, the Tories, did nothing with that report. They were 20...
But at least now, something's going to give... This is the nub of the issue, right? You can argue, and it is indeed the case, that quite a lot of child sex abuse is white men on white girls. But there's no evidence that public officials are involved in covering that up.
Yes. Exactly.
What is enormous about this scandal is police officers, social service officers, politicians, local councils seem to have been complicit. That's the huge scandal, and justice requires those people are called out.
We're going to be returning at 10 p.m. to talk more about the political stuff that we saw in the House of Commons today and what the ramifications of that mean in terms of an inquiry. I've got to just say Gordon Brown denies in strong terms any personal wrongdoing when it comes to anything in relation to this. Channel 4, a spokesperson told GBNews, the programme does not minimise the very serious issue of sexual exploitation and its impact is explored in the programme, including an interview with a survivor who bravely shares her own experiences. It also explores the detrimental effect that false allegations, such as the ones Ellie Williams made, can have for genuine survivors of these crimes. And the BBC have said the BBC has provided extensive coverage of grooming gangs across its output, from BBC News reporting on criminal trials to our award-winning drama Three Girls. Liar, the fake grooming scandal, follows a case of Ellie Williams and was publicly established in court. It makes clear and acknowledges that these false allegations of rape are extremely rare, but they are made, and when they are made, they can be very serious indeed. GB News approached The Guardian for comments, but they did not respond. Maybe they're on strike again today, I don't know. But anyway, still to come. Well, not a single Labour MP voted in favour of a Tory amendment that would have forced the government to hold a national grooming gangs inquiry. How on earth can they ever look rape gang victims in the eye ever again? Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp joins me live very soon. But first,
I feel genuinely distressed and ashamed, actually, of some of the things that patients are experiencing.
we've got yet another winter crisis in the NHS, haven't we? But do you actually feel sorry for the NHS? We're going to be having an epic head-to-head on this very shortly. Stay tuned.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
And fashionistas are keen to see which new trends are set to hit the catwalk.
Well, our next guest is very well placed to share her predictions with us after being a contestant on hit ITV series Dress the Nation, as well as being an upcycling and sewing consultant.
Wow. Joining us now is Tendai Murewe. I want to go back to you appearing on the ITV Dress the Nation.
Right.
Tell us about that experience. What was that like?
Oh, that was one of my highlights as a upcycling consultant. I learned to sew in my kitchen 5 years ago. And then, during COVID, just making masks. Then the next thing I was on a Dress the Nation, making dresses in front of TV. Yeah, it was just incredible. I think we all had all these clothes that we have, but we don't know what to do with them. So mainly I started with men's jackets, taking off the sleeves and putting it like a print on.
I've tried this. I've tried taking off my sleeves before. I now have about 3 jackets with no sleeves. I never managed to put them back on.
You need to come to a workshop.
You
need to come to a workshop.
I need an upcycling consultant. 2025. What can we expect, fashion-wise?
I think bold prints are back. People are loving. I think you walk on the streets in frollals and oversized men's jackets.
So the exact opposite. We have drastically underperformed this morning. You're just saying not like us.
We just woke up this morning and thought it's winter, it's cold, it's grey.
Grey, miserable.
Is that not the way to go?
No, it is. It's still, I think because fashion is expressive. It's whatever you want to express yourself.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Now, just before we get stuck into our head-to-head, I do need to remind you that time is running out to enter our Great British Giveaway. 50 grand in tax-free cash, everybody. Here's how it could be yours.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway so far, with your chance to win a spectacular £50,000 in tax-free cash. 2025 could be amazing, with plenty of treats, holidays and fun on the horizon. How would you enjoy that cash? £50,000 will make someone our biggest ever winner. For another chance to win £50,000 cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck. Right, coming up, I'm going to be joined by Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp. But first, should we have any sympathy for the NHS over the annual winter flu crisis? Time for the head-to-head. Yes, that's right. The NHS is yet again in crisis, with 9 hospitals across the country declaring critical incidents as they struggle to cope with an influx of winter flu cases. Patients have been warned that they may face up to 2 whole days waiting in A&E. And speaking yesterday, Health Secretary Wed Streeting addressed the situation.
I feel genuinely distressed and ashamed, actually, of some of the things that patients are experiencing. And I know that the staff of the NHS and social care services feel the same.
Well, tonight I'm asking, should we feel sorry for the NHS over the winter fuel crisis, over the winter fuel crisis, I should say. Going head-to-head on this now are the NHS psychiatric nurse, Julia Taylor, and private clinic doctor, Dr Imran Ahmed. Thank you very much, both of you. Great to have you on the show. Julia, I'll start with you. So do you think we should feel sorry for the NHS over this winter crisis?
Yes and no, but mainly no. Now, I've got 3 main reasons for that, what I think personally. The population in this country has increased by 10,661,332 in 24 years, and the NHS has not grown with that, sadly. OK, that has a huge impact, especially at this time of year. Just a point to note, I just want to throw in here. When Margaret Thatcher won the election in 1979, Norman Fowler politely declined the position of Health Minister because he said the NHS ticks along nicely on its own. Now, we've gone from that to a crisis every time it's this time of year. The other problem is social care, the poor social care we have in this country. That causes 10,000 bed blockers on a daily basis, and that's normally, not just at this time of year. And the workforce shortages we have. We've got 43,000 nurses short and 12,000 hospital doctors short. All of that combined has caused this problem. And it's, in my opinion, a failure of the governments from 1997 onwards that's ruined the NHS. That's what I think.
All right, Dr Imran, I'll bring you in on it now. You know, record levels of funding for the NHS. We are a health service with a country attached, aren't we? Is it not quite difficult to feel sorry for the NHS when it gets a bit cold and we have more flu and all of a sudden we're 8 ambulances deep outside a hospital somewhere?
Well, hi, good evening, firstly. No, I don't think we should be feeling sorry for the NHS over the flu season. I think we ought to be feeling sorry for the NHS throughout the year, not just over the flu season. As you had mentioned, your guest has mentioned, it is underfunded. We've seen this underfunding year on year.
How much funding would you give it? Serious, just so we know, right? How much more funding would you give the NHS? Just so I know how much more of my money every month I can toss into an A&E.
That's an excellent question. And there is no figure. The NHS, I can say, is unfortunately a bottomless pit. And we've seen this year on year. We're increasing funding. We're putting more money, more taxpayers' money towards the NHS, but it is never quite enough. What we're seeing is increasing health demands, an aging population, a population that requires more and more input as they grow elderly. Now, the trouble is that with the advances in healthcare, things are also becoming a lot more expensive. Now, either we as a collective, as a population, decide and say, enough is enough, we can't fund this anymore, or we say, no, we feel sorry for our NHS, we feel sorry for our population, and we will do our best to care for them.
Is there not a third way? And look, I appreciate what you said there. I'll lob this back to Julia. Is there not a third way, which is to demand that it's better run? And that includes not just health secretaries, who, by the way, for the life of me, I cannot understand why we put someone in charge of health who has never worked in a hospital. We just find someone, a man or a woman, off the street who stands for election in a place like Ilford or wherever it is, and all of a sudden you are now in charge of our NHS. I find that mental. But anyway, do we also not have to look at the idea that maybe it needs to be better run from within, Julia, that there are managers there who could be doing a bit better?
Not so much a bit better. Perhaps we don't need the managers that we've got. I'll give you an example. Equality and diversity managers. Why do we need them? Why don't we just do an aptitude test prior to interview and see, well, I don't like the sound of that person. They don't sound like the person we're looking for, off the list. That would save absolute fortune. It's quite badly mismanaged, the money. And there's a lot of waste in the NHS. I mean, I know they paid over £1 million for a fountain outside one of the forensic psychiatric places where I worked in Newcastle. And I thought, well, what's that all about?
Yeah. No, fair enough. Yeah. Dr. Owen, just a final point to you on this, and sorry we're a bit pressed for time here, but do you think that patience, for want of a better phrase, patience, is running out when it comes to the NHS for some members of the public who do feel as though, look, you know, I'm waiting 2 days for something, I've got hernia here, I've had it for a year, you know. I wonder if that traditional, maybe sympathy and deference that people have for the NHS is gone a bit, really.
Of course, patience is running out. But Julia, I'd like to speak to your point of what you said. That, yes, management is a problem. But what we've seen historically is that efficiency savings don't work. We can move the money here and there, try this way and that way, but it just doesn't seem to be working because we have to face facts that there are only so many slices, so many pieces of this cake that you can cut. And unfortunately, there is just not enough money in the country. But in the end, patients suffer. So either which way.
I agree. Sorry about it. We're gonna have to knock it on the head, I'm afraid, for tonight. But thank you both very, very much. Much appreciated. Good discussion now. Take care. NHS psychiatric nurse Julia Taylor and private clinic doctor Dr. Imran Ahmed. Right, so the Apprentice 2015 winner, self-made millionaire, Joseph Valente, he's fed up with this Labour government. He's fed up with the Tories. He's off to reform. He's going to join me live in the studio soon. But first, not a single Labour MP voted in favour of a Tory amendment that would have forced a national grooming gangs inquiry. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp is live and he's next.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's going to stay cold over the next 24 hours with further snow and icy patches for some, although for much of the UK it's clear and dry overnight and into Thursday. We've seen this low pressure move up from the southwest during Wednesday, bringing with it a band of rain, sleet and snow, and that messy mixture of wintry weather remains as we go into the evening, but it does eventually fizzle away towards the southeast, leaving behind falling temperatures and icy roads and pavements. There'll also be icy patches in the north and west where we continue to see sleet and snow showers move in on a cold wind. Inland temperatures dropping as low as -5 or -6 in urban areas and in some sheltered rural spots, particularly where we've got snow cover. For example, across parts of Scotland and northern England, temperatures could dip into the minus double digits. So widely a cold, frosty and in some places icy start to Thursday. Further wintry flurries into the north coast of Northern Ireland as well as the north coast of Scotland. 1 or 2 there for North Wales as well as northwest England. But for the vast majority, actually, it's a fine start to the day. Yes, it will be cold and there'll be some slippery surfaces around, but there'll be plenty of dry, bright, crisp winter weather. Best of the sunshine, southern Scotland, parts of the Midlands, eastern and southern England. And it's going to continue to feel very cold out there, especially in the wind across northern Scotland and down the North Sea coast. Temperatures struggling to get to 1 to 3 Celsius, and in some places where we've got snow cover and some hills, for example, temperatures not going above 0. So we keep that cold air in place for Friday, but at the same time, another Atlantic system will move in, bringing once more a mix of rain, sleet and snow. But it's a temporary wintry spell because as it moves in, temperatures slowly lift over the weekend.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support. It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions, and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. So, in a dramatic late-night vote in Parliament tonight, not a single Labour MP voted in favour of a Conservative amendment that would have forced a national inquiry into grooming gangs.
The ayes to the right were 111, the noes to the left 364. So the noes have it, the noes have it. Unlock.
I'm joined now by the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philps. Chris, thank you very much for joining us tonight. What's your reaction to this evening's vote?
Good evening. Well, I'm deeply disappointed and angry that the Labour Party have blocked a proper national inquiry into the rape gang scandal. We're talking about young teenage girls systematically raped by gangs of men, mainly of Pakistani background, over years. Public authorities covered it up or certainly ignored their claims. We've heard how Labour politicians over the years have been pressured by their own party to keep quiet about this. We heard Simon Janchuk, I think, on this channel a few days ago saying that. We saw Sarah Champion forced off the Labour front bench a few years ago to cover this up as well. And now we see Labour MPs in Parliament voting to continue to try and brush this under the carpet. Well, that's just not good enough when there are these victims.
Why do you think they're doing it, though, Chris? Do you think that there's a potential that they might be afraid that some people in the Labour Party are implicated in this? Certainly, at least when it comes to local councils. Do you think that's the worry here for them?
I think it may be part of their worry, yes. And we've seen Labour figures in the past, like Simon Danchuk, like Anne Cryer, like Sarah Champion, getting essentially silenced or attempted to be silenced by their own party, and that we may be seeing something similar happening again. We saw, in fact, Keir Starmer, as recently as Monday of this week, try to shut down debate on this issue by outrageously claiming that it was far right to be raising concerns about these rape gangs. So the Labour Party have a long track record of trying to shut down discussion
just
and
on that,
shut
just
down
on that,
debate on this
Chris,
issue.
just because it's an important point that you make there, because you then went into Parliament and you made that point in Parliament and you were heckled, actually. I've got a little clip of it and I'll get your reaction.
A word on the Prime Minister's comments this morning. It is not far right to stand up for victims of mass rape. And smearing people.
You were there, obviously, in person there. What were they saying? What kind of stuff were they saying? What was that like?
Well, they were the Labour MPs. As I said, look, it's not far right to stand up for rape victims. And I went on to say it's exactly that kind of attitude, the attitude that Keir Starmer expressed, that led to this stuff being covered up in the first place. As I said that, dozens and dozens of Labour MPs on the other side of the chamber started sort of booing and heckling, showing that they didn't want to hear. They didn't understand that standing up for rape victims is part of our job as MPs. Now, after that exchange, a woman, a lady, obviously saw that online, and she said that she is the mother of a 12-year-old girl who committed suicide after her daughter was groomed, raped and beaten at the age of 12, and she committed suicide afterwards. And she said when she saw how those Labour MPs were behaving, when I said that, she said she was completely disgusted by their behaviour. And I can understand why. They just don't get it. They think raising they're trying to shut down debate. They don't want this to be discussed. But that is exactly how this mess happened in the first place, by people typically on the left claiming it's somehow racist or far right to discuss these issues. It's not. It's our moral obligation to discuss these issues.
Jess Phillips has been very vocal, mainly in defending herself, actually. And we actually were looking. I've been looking at this over the last couple of days because you've been on the shadow front benches. Jess Phillips has been on the front bench. Opposite you, really. We've done a little bit of a compare and contrast in terms of reactions and animations here. Jess Phillips, very, very animated, really kind of nodding along. You're getting involved a little bit as well, but she's really kind of gnashing of the teeth, giving up. What do you make of that? Do you think she's rattled here? Do you think she realises that maybe she's letting people down on her watch?
Well, I mean, the Labour Party, including Jess Phillips, who is the minister responsible, have failed to deliver this basic requirement of a democracy, a free society, which is the truth. And the only way we're going to get to the truth, it is now clear, is a proper national statutory public inquiry with the ability to compel witnesses to attend, covering the whole country. And the Labour government, which includes Jess Phillips, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, they have all collectively failed. They've all collectively tonight let down those victims.
Have you guys, though, not Chris? Have you guys, you had 14 years. You had 14 years of it. You had numerous reports, the latest report, none of the recommendations were implemented. It is a little bit rich, isn't it? Kemi Badenoch was Women and Equalities Minister for 2 years, I think, wasn't she? As well. Is it not a little bit rich to be coming out and saying this stuff now, Chris?
No, well, let me go through what we did in government. So 2014, Theresa May initiated the Rochdale statutory inquiry. 2015, Theresa May initiated the ICSA statutory inquiry. 2018, Sajid Javid, Conservative Home Secretary, got the data collected, demonstrating this problem with that most of these perpetrators were from the Pakistani community. 2023, Rishi Sunak, Conservative Prime Minister, set up the Grooming Gangs Task Force that arrested 550 people. So all of those actions were taken in government, but frankly, they weren't enough. We need to go further with this proper national public inquiry, which can summon witnesses to give evidence under oath. They can requisition evidence to make sure the truth comes out. Now, on your point about...
I was just going to say, sorry, we're pressed for time, but I've given Jess Phillips a very hard time for not talking to any victims of grooming gang scandals recently, and certainly in the case of Oldham. Have you?
Yes, and during my time as a Home Office Minister as well, yes, I did meet victims, and families as well. And it's really important, I think, to do that because you hear directly how things affected those families.
OK. All right, Chris, thank you for your time this evening, and we'll talk again soon, no doubt, as well. It's Chris Philp there, who's the Shadow Home Office Minister. Coming up at 10 p.m. tonight...
The ayes to the right, 111. The noes to the left, 364.
Not a single Labour MP voted in favour of a Tory amendment that would have forced the National Grooming Gangs inquiry. I'm going to be asking how they can look themselves in the mirror. But first...
These last 12 weeks, I've jumped through hoops to try and prove to you time and time again that I can adapt and change.
You're hired. That self-made millionaire and apprentice winner, Joseph Valente, has decided to join Reform. He's on my show very shortly to tell us why.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're looking to escape the cold weather in the UK and find some winter sun, well, you're in luck. Fine for many parts of southern Europe. And it's looking like there'll be some warm sunshine for the Canaries as well as Madeira. But for Portugal and Spain, particularly towards the north, there'll be some showery rain, more especially parts of the south of France seeing some wet weather. Snow for the Alps there, showers for Italy, and indeed there will be some showers across parts of Greece during the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Now, we're going to introduce you to Liam Wildish. Liam, well, I'd like to think he's a friend of mine because I follow him on Instagram, on TikTok there as well.
You're a big fan, aren't you?
Big fan, because there's what he does. He's a cleaner. He cleans signs. But the thing is, he's not employed by councils or whatever. He does this voluntarily. And you sort of think to yourself, well, who cleans these signs? Why have these signs been allowed to get into this terrible state of disrepair and filthiness?
So basically, long story short, about 6 years ago, I used to be a window cleaner. In the community where I lived, I noticed all of the road signs were filthy, and I was perfectly equipped to clean them. So basically, I cleaned the road signs as a bit of a thank you to the community and sort of make a little bit of awareness in my window cleaning business at the time. Yeah. Sort of cleans up the area, makes the road safer, and that's kind of how that started. And people found it like a really satisfying sort of approach. So that sort of led on to today of a video in cleaning the dirty road signs and making sort of satisfying content with it as well.
What is the equipment? What have we got here?
So this is a water-fed pole system connected to a backpack, which is what feeds the water through the end of the brush there. It's perfectly equipped to basically remove this green dirty, it's like a mildew build-up that you get on the signs. Yeah. As you can see, this is like extremely effective at removing so.
So GB News viewers, if they spot a particularly grisly sign in their area, then they can get in touch.
They can do, yeah.
And Liam Wildish, the sign guy, can sort you out.
if you find Liam the sign guy online, drop me a message, let me know, and I'll add you to my list of places.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. So, expelled at 15 years old, qualified as a plumber by 18, and the winner of BBC's The Apprentice at 25. But 10 years later, and Joseph Valente's company trade mastermind is set to hit 20 million quid in annual sales in 2025. Not bad, is it? And now he's announced he's joining Reform. So thank you very much. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Why have you decided to join Reform then? What is it?
Well, I think we need a leader that backs British business, success and entrepreneurship. And what I like about Reform, Nigel specifically, is he gets business, he's positive and he wants to see this country win. And I want to see entrepreneurs in government. I think that politicians aren't great problem solvers, and I think entrepreneurs are natural-born problem solvers. So why wouldn't you welcome more people that do this as a day job? And so that's why I want to be part of it.
Well, what do you make then of how's it been for you when it comes to this Labour government and the budget that we've had so far, and for business owners, for entrepreneurs? What do you think?
Well, I've stayed away from politics for the first kind of decade. I've been in business 12 years now. And so now that I'm getting older, more mature, and I'm starting to look at the country as a whole, I'm thinking this country's not going in the right direction. When the budget came out, I think in October, the entrepreneurial communities across the UK were really negative. You know, people feeling like success is always persecuted, we don't celebrate it, all of our millionaires, billionaires, they're all going offshore, they're all leaving, and we've got to retain the top talent. Well, you're not going to do that if people don't get on with the government. So if we don't make a change now and have a new government, mix things up, then all the great people are going to leave and they're going to go off and make all the other countries great, and Britain's going to be left holding, you know, all the people that don't want to make a move or do 4-hour work weeks.
Yeah, what would you actually do in practical terms? I know you're not specifically in politics, you just joined the party, but what would you do practically, do you think?
So my business, Trade Mastermind, trains trades businesses to scale and grow by giving them the tools and skills to become great at business. We help plumbers become business people, electricians become business owners, and we've contributed, I would say, across around the 3,000 or 4,000 trades businesses we've grown, about 250 million in sales into the trade and construction sector in the last few years. So we've created a mini construction boom, and we've done that by arming the small business owner with the skills around sales and marketing, so they know how to create their own economy, whereas most people start a business because they're good at the trade and they lack those sales and marketing skills. So I'd go straight to the 5.4 million small businesses in the UK and give them the education to be great at business. Then they're going to be able to get more customers, make more sales, and that's just going to blow up the economy as a whole, create more jobs and all that comes with a business that scales.
The argument against Reform, Reform, would be that, all right, OK, Nigel talks a good game, Rupert Lowe talks a good game, and our viewers obviously have a soft spot for both of them. But they haven't done it themselves, maybe. I mean, Rupert Lowe, I suppose, has actually. But, you know, they haven't been in government themselves, is what I should be saying, really. They haven't been in government themselves. They haven't run a country. Maybe it's easier talking about this stuff from where you and I are sat than when you're actually on the front benches with a country to run.
Well, I think there's a first time for everything, but Keir Starmer hadn't run a country before, and now he's in charge, and he's not doing a great job at it. I don't think any of the recent prime ministers have done a great job, but one thing I do think we need is an inspirational leader that's got a clear vision that we can get behind, that we believe in. And for me, it's really important that I respect the man in charge, and the current one I don't respect. Nigel I do, and I think he's got what it takes. And recently Elon Musk came out supporting Nigel, and I came out supporting Nigel, and I got a retweet from Elon to his 210 million followers, and I've seen what's gone on in America with Trump and Musk and entrepreneurs in government and them cutting cost and creating efficiency and making stuff happen and taking action, and I think Nigel's got what it takes. I think the other guys at the top of the leadership team of Reform have ran businesses, and they want to mix things up, and for so long now we've had a choice of one party or the other. Now there's a new player in town.
What do you say to people when they try to stigmatise you for getting involved with Nigel Farage? People are going to come at you, mate, and they're going to say, oh, you're a bit far right. That's what they're going to say.
I mean, I won a reality TV show when I was 25 years of age, so I'm a seasoned troll eater. I eat trolls for breakfast, so it's water off a duck's back. I believe in what I believe in, and I'm prepared to back it. And if we're talking far right, because these guys want to stop mass migration, and I'm behind that. I think, listen, how can we have too many people coming into a country when an infrastructure infrastructure is only designed and built for a certain amount of people, yet there's an unlimited amount of people coming in and no one's matching the immigration policy to the infrastructure policy and wondering why none of the services work. That's how a business works, right? So for me, it's not about being far right, and I'm getting into politics because I want to celebrate success, I want to back small businesses, and I want to see the country win.
Well, strong stuff. I think a lot of our viewers and listeners will be liking what they hear. So you take care. And thank you very much. I'm sorry it was a bit short this time, but we've been squeezed by some of the other news stories. But I hope to talk to you again very soon.
Thank you.
Joseph Valenti there. Right, OK, look, coming up, not a single Labour MP did vote against that Tory amendment. It would have forced the National Grooming Gangs inquiry. They're from constituencies like Rochdale, Rotherham, Oldham. Absolute shocker. How on earth can they look their constituents in the eye? All of that is coming your way. It's live and it's next. Stay tuned.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Evening, time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. The wintry weather continues to cause some problems. Met Office warnings remain in place. Snow across the south, an amber warning across parts of the southwest during this evening before it all starts to pull away. But some sleet and snow still falling across the southeast well into the night before that edges away. Snow showers coming in across northern Scotland, the north of Northern Ireland, likely to turn things icy, and then some wintry showers later in the night filter into western parts of Wales down towards Cornwall. For many, it's just a dry night, a clear night and a very cold night. -4, -5 in towns and cities, rural spots getting to minus double digits. So a very cold, very frosty start. Also some freezing fog patches around, particularly over parts of Northern Ireland and Northern England. All the wet weather should be out of the way by first thing in the morning across the south, but it could be icy. These showers coming into West Wales and Cornwall could still make things icy. Some snow here and in the showers coming into the north of Northern Ireland and across northern parts of Scotland will continue to feed wintry showers in here during Thursday morning. So still potentially very icy out there. Also frosty conditions and some dense fog patches. But actually for many, it'll be a bright, fine winter's day on Thursday. Plenty of blue sky, plenty of sunshine to be had. Still a few showers grazing West Wales, and certainly more snow showers coming in across northern Scotland. But elsewhere, I say, quite a bit of sunshine. If the fog sticks, temperatures may not get above freezing. Some glens of Scotland may stay below freezing all day as well, but generally temperatures creeping up 2 or 3 degrees. Still pretty cold, though, and again, a hard frost on Friday morning. Temperatures again like to get to minus double digits in rural spots. Notice though some wet weather coming into the southwest. Again, this is going to be a messy mixture of rain, sleet and some snow coming into parts of Wales and southwest England. Again, many other areas dry and fine on Friday. But after a frosty start, temperatures struggling to 2 or 3 degrees for most.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£50,000 in tax-free cash is like having over £4,000 each month to play with for a whole year. And it could be yours in the biggest Great British giveaway so far. That could be a holiday each month, your mortgage covered, or just the ability to send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support.
It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions, and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you.
The GB GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
(10 p.m) I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
the eyes to the right were 111, the nose to the left 364. So the noes have it, the noes have it. Unlock.
Shame on those Labour MPs who voted against a Pakistani rape gang inquiry.
Telford, Rochdale, Bristol, Derby, Aylesbury, Oldham, Bradford, Peterborough, Coventry, Middlesbrough, Newcastle, Ramsgate tell all of these people to vote against a national inquiry into the gang.
How can they sleep at night?
A shocking three-part series, giving a voice to those at the centre of a devastating lie.
And shame on Channel 4, who ran a documentary last night on a fake grooming gang.
And smearing people.
Yeah, and look at those people just smearing it there, sneering at it. Absolutely shocking. In other news, it is apparently the 5th anniversary of Megxit, so we'll probably be talking about that. Plus, there was a bomb scare in London today, but what really happened? And shocking footage emerges of the devastating California wildfires. On my panel this evening is the Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, landlord and activist Adam Brooks, and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Oh, and can anyone tell me, please, what on earth is going on here?
Just wondered, I can't see it on the menu, but where do I get the 5 Guys from?
Here we go. Keir Starmer's day of shame. Next.
Good evening. It's just gone 10 o'clock. I'm Sophia Wensland with your headlines. Labour MPs have tonight voted down a Tory demand for a new national inquiry into grooming gangs. The Commons opposed a call by Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch for a fresh probe into historical child sexual exploitation by 364 votes to 111.
The ayes to the right were 111, the noes to the left 364. So the noes have it, the noes have it. Unlock.
MPs voted down an amendment to the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill proposed by the Conservatives, which would have looked to force a statutory inquiry into grooming gangs. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp has responded, saying it's important to find out the truth.
We need a national statutory public inquiry that covers not just some towns, as previous reports have done, but covers all the towns where this happened and has the legal powers to get evidence and make witnesses appear. We need to get to the truth. Victims are asking for that, and I just don't understand why Keir Starmer and the Labour Party are refusing to initiate this proper public inquiry.
Meanwhile, Nigel Farage has suggested Reform UK will fund an inquiry into child sexual abuse if the government fails to do so. The Reform UK leader said his party will raise the money and appoint independent arbiters to conduct the national inquiry. In other news, at least 2 people have been killed and 70,000 have been ordered to evacuate as 3 massive wildfires tear through the suburbs of Los Angeles in California. The fires, fueled by dry weather and strong winds, are pushing dangerously close to homes, forcing tens of thousands of residents to flee. The LA City Fire Chief says there are a number of significant injuries, and he says we are absolutely not out of danger yet. Now, back in the UK, the mother of 14-year-old Kellyanne Bokassa, who was stabbed to death on a bus in south-east London, has said he was groomed by gangs after running away from care and living on the streets. His mother, Mary, says he was kind, musical and talented at drawing with a love for football. Kellyanne was attacked on a double-decker bus in Woolwich just after 2:30 p.m. yesterday. Despite efforts from police, paramedics and the London Air Ambulance, he died shortly after the attack. Detectives are working at pace to find those responsible, but no arrests have yet been made. Meanwhile, a community vigil is being held this evening at the church overlooking the bus stop where he died. And a baby has been born on a crowded migrant dinghy on its way from Africa to the Canary Islands. The baby boy was rescued alongside his mother and 60 other migrants. The crowded small boat was first spotted on the 6th of January off the island of Lanzarote. The Coast Guard rescuers believe they reached the vessel soon after the baby was born and found the mother and baby in good health. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Patrick.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Today, we witnessed a moment that will haunt Keir Starmer and this Labour government forever.
The ayes to the right were 111, the noes to the left 364. So the noes have it, the noes have it. Unlock.
The Prime Minister and his cowardly MPs failed to vote in favour of a full inquiry into the rape of British girls by Pakistani gangs. Starmer claims that voting for the amendment would destroy the whole bill, which is intended to keep kids safe. But this has been a disaster class from Keir Starmer. It all started with this.
It is something about the nature of our politics, because once we lose the anchor that truth matters, in the robust debate we must have, then we're on a very slippery slope. And when politicians, and I mean politicians, who sat in government for many years, are casual about honesty, decency, truth and the rule of law, calling for inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right.
Oh, we're all on a far-right bandwagon, are we, Prime Minister? Then he said that Kemi Badenoch only cares about it because she's been on social media too much.
Right to say it's one of the worst scandals. It's terrible. That's why I acted on it. Her recently acquired view that it's a scandal, having spent a lot of time on social media over Christmas, not once in 8 years did she stand here and say what she's just said. Not once in 8 years. They didn't act on the recommendations.
Implying there, and the snarling Jess Phillips, what are they implying? That in the real world, people don't think Pakistani rape gangs are a problem? Idiot. Then this happened.
Vote against a national inquiry into the gangs which have systematically gang raped children in their constituencies. This is one of the worst scandals in British history, Mr. Speaker.
Listen to Labour MPs jeering at the suggestion that this is a massive issue. And then this.
Let us have the truth. He won't listen to the victims who are calling for a national inquiry. He is making this all about a bill this afternoon. Later today, he will tell Labour MPs, including in Telford, Rochdale, Bristol, Derby, Aylesbury, Oldham, Bradford, Peterborough, Coventry, Middlesbrough, Newcastle, Ramsgate, tell all of these people to vote against a national inquiry into the gangs which have systematically gang raped children in their constituencies.
Our Prime Minister told his MPs in places where thousands of working-class underage white girls were systematically raped, tortured and in some cases killed, and one maybe even put in a meat grinder and turned into kebab meat, not to vote in favour of this inquiry. MPs like Paul Waugh, the Labour MP in Rochdale, Sarah Champion, the Labour MP in Rotherham, Debbie Abrahams, the Labour MP in Oldham, Laura Kirk-Smith, the Labour MP for Aylesbury, Jess Phillips, the Labour MP for Birmingham Yardley. To those MPs and to Keir Starmer, I say this. How on earth do you sleep at night? How on earth do you look yourselves in the mirror? When you go back to your constituencies on Friday, how do you show your face in public? And specifically to those Labour MPs who have sold out their principles when it comes to winter fuel payments for pensioners because Keir Starmer told you to. You've sold out farmers because Keir Starmer told you to. You've sold out waspy women because Keir Starmer told you to. And now you've sold out victims of Pakistani rape gangs because Keir Starmer told you to. How long are you going to stand behind that man? That man who is tanking in the polls. I suspect Keir Starmer will be long gone by the time the next election comes around, but your voting record will last forever, and we won't forget it. Oh, by the way, Keir Starmer abstained. Shame on you. I'm joined now by former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards. Paul, why did Keir Starmer abstain?
Well, he's actually opened the door today to the possibility of a future inquiry, but obviously voting on this bill was about a Tory stunt, and this amendment was a
Why did he abstain then?
And it would have actually, well, as I say, he's left the door open now for a potential future national inquiry, but only after the Oldham inquiry has taken place, because that's the right level for that particular
Just to be clear,
inquiry.
he whipped his MPs, Paul. He whipped his MPs. He said, if you, three-line whip, if you vote against the government on this, you'll lose the whip. But he didn't vote himself. Why not?
But that is a Tory amendment. The oppositioning, nothing wrong with that. But it was a government bill going through. So, of course, Labour MPs had to vote for the legislative programme that they were elected to deliver. And the things that in that bill were in the manifesto. So that's why they did it. Now, he's, as the Prime Minister, can take his own views. But obviously,
I'm only going to ask it one more time. Why did Keir Starmer abstain?
Well, I would guess, and I haven't discussed it with him, it's so that he can open the door to a potential future inquiry at the time when such a thing is needed. But at the moment, as we've said, the best place to do that inquiry, as Jess Phillips's letter said, and the Tories have said, by the way, up until the point where they decided it wasn't, is at the local level, and it should be led by Oldham, closest to the communities, closest to the victims, and that's the best way forward.
Jess Phillips hasn't bothered to speak to any of them yet, though, has she?
Well, she's a champion of victims, as you well know, Patrick.
No,
for many decades.
I don't actually. No, I don't.
Well,
let me talk about this. Because, so she read people's names out. Fair play. She read people's names out for a very long time in the House of Commons. She did several interviews before actually coming into a position of power, which she is in now, in which she said that in every single town across the UK, grooming gangs are still taking place. And now she's in a position of power, Paul. She's decided not to do anything about that. Why not?
Well, I don't know. And again, you'd have to ask her, but I'm sure she will be meeting with some of the victims, as she's met with many other victims over a long period, even before even being in government. Don't forget, it was a Labour MP, Anne Cryer, that raised this whole issue in the first place. And people like Labour's Andy Burnham are pursuing the case and putting some of these heinous criminals behind bars. And the most important investigation, I think, is that being conducted by the police, because that will lead to arrests and banging up some of these people, some of whom are still abroad. I mean, walking abroad in our own streets. So I just feel that, the victims have to come first. The police action is the important thing. And also important, Patrick, is putting the recommendations of the last national inquiry into action, because the Tories did absolutely none of those recommendations. And we're starting to see some action on these things that will protect future generations, and surely we can all agree that's the most important thing.
It is the most important thing. I also don't see why that means we can't have an inquiry into Pakistani rape gangs, Paul. And I do wonder whether or not those Labour MPs in places like Rochdale, like Rotherham, etc., how they look themselves in the mirror, Paul.
Well, I mean, I heard your monologue. It's powerful stuff, but they would argue, if they were here, that they would say Oldham should lead the inquiry. We've had a national inquiry. It cost £200 million and took 7 years. It came up with 20 recommendations. And the business of the House now is to deliver on those recommendations, to protect future generations, not to point score and not to try and play politics with. I mean, Kemi Badenoch, was in the government that could have done something and didn't. Suella Braverman wrote the government's response to the inquiry, welcoming it, including the bit, by the way, where Keir Starmer is praised in the inquiry.
Yeah, OK. You mentioned playing politics there, Paul. You mentioned playing politics there. So this is literally something that's just come out by the Labour Party, right? The Tories had a chance to back our plans to protect vulnerable children, and they failed. The Tories failed, right? Labour...
That's because they voted against the bill tonight.
Has just voted against or abstained to have an inquiry into an epidemic of Pakistani rape gangs. Are you telling me that Labour's not playing politics here?
I think it's right to point out that the Conservatives tried to trash a bill in today's Parliament today that would have actually protected children in the future, filled with practical measures to do something about it. And the Tories decided to try and to trash it, to wreck it with their amendment. That's what their amendment was all about. It was about to stop the bill going through. Now, I know that is the business. That is the business of opposition, and I get that.
Inquiry into Pakistani rape
However,
gangs, as you well know.
I think those Tory MPs will have to, be judged at the next election for trying to stop some of the things in the bill that will protect people.
All right, Paul.
So that's the politics.
Thank you very much, Paul Richards.
As ever, you're very welcome.
Former Labour advisor, you take care. Let's get the thoughts of my panel now. I've got Director of Popular Conservatives Mark Littlewood, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and journalist and TV presenter Nina Mishkov. Look. Mark, those MPs in those constituencies, like the ones that we've mentioned there, whether it's Oldham, whether it's Rochdale, whether it's Rotherham and all of that stuff, is this not a day of shame for them?
I listened to Paul Richards in that interview and I'm none the wiser. He says that the Prime Minister has kept open the door to a national inquiry, yet he's forced 350 of his own MPs to vote against it. So he's told 350 of his MPs to vote for closing the door, apparently whilst wanting to keep the door open. The amendment could have been accepted without wrecking the bill. It just adds on to the bill. So there's no...
I don't think that's right, actually, Mark, because it's the second reading. And if an amendment is taken up, that actually stops the bill from going through.
That's fine.
That stops... that delays the legislation. No, it stops it.
Just put the bill back with that wording on it.
No, it stops the bill.
Well, that's
and that's
right.
the whole...
No, it doesn't.
No,
it
takes longer.
The government can represent a bill to the House at any time. The other thing, and I think this is the greatest disappointment, is the Labour government's focusing on what are the recommendations to make sure this doesn't happen again. And that's obviously crucial. We never want this to happen again. But they seem to be particularly uninterested in justice for what's happened in the past. Exactly. So what are we actually going to do about what happened? Not just to ensure this doesn't happen again, but to ensure this could be hundreds of public officials going to prison if this is properly investigated. Yeah. That sort of scale. But every time, and I've been much more sympathetic to the Prime Minister if he said, we don't need another national inquiry, we've got the facts. I think we now need to go about getting some prosecutions for people who turned a blind eye. He hasn't said that at all.
Those Labour MPs who so far, because Keir Starmer has told them to, have sold their principles out when it comes to pensioners, when it comes to farmers, and when it comes to WASPy women as well. And we know that because of the things they've said in the past versus the way they've voted so far. And now they've voted against or abstained on this. Why are they standing behind that man, Keir Starmer, who is tanking?
I have no idea. Again, there's no love from me for Keir Starmer. I sat on this couch warning what he would be like as a Prime Minister. Within the last 7 months, he's basically said anyone that's fighting back against illegal immigration, anyone that's talking about pushing back against grooming and rape gangs is far right. I'm sat here now with many people thinking I'm far right because the Prime Minister labels people like me as far right. This government, by blocking this inquiry, I think has put many girls at risk because the lessons are not going to be learnt from the past. This is still going on, Patrick. We're told this is still going on.
Yeah.
I'm horrified by these Labour MPs. How they can look in the mirror, I do not know.
They don't want to do it, Nina, I think, because they're afraid of how many people within the Labour Party, either past or present, this would implicate at local council level or whatever.
I don't think that comes into it. I think if there are Labour people who are complicit in this, then they will be prosecuted or justice will be meted out in the way it's supposed to be meted out. The thing is, what astounds me is the breathtaking hypocrisy of the Conservative Party, because there was Professor Alexis Jay's report, took 7 years, £200 million, as Paul Richards said. 20 recommendations, not one single recommendation acted upon. What is the point of an inquiry? Now, Keir Starmer has stated if there was an inquiry, which there may well be, both he and Jess Phillips since this afternoon have let the door open to something. Jess Phillips said her panel of victims, if they wish so, then they will be listened to.
But that she hasn't spoke to any in the last week.
No, but in the last week. Listen, this woman...
The public have a right to know
listen,
about
hang on.
No. So just quickly, I'll put this to you. Do you not think the public have a right to know if there is a deep-seated cultural problem right across the country?
Yes, but we know that.
No, but we don't know.
We've known that for a decade. We've known that for a decade.
So who's going to be brought to book for it?
Well, hopefully this will happen. But but the thing is, you cannot say that having an inquiry now, saying, OK, how many years will it take? So that's till 2030, 2031. Well, so, and in the meantime, nothing happens. It's the same thing happens with inquiries in this country.
You can't do more than one thing.
They kick it down the road. They kick it down the road.
Here is the problem.
As a Conservative...
Yeah, I would agree. What I'm worried about in terms of the way Britain is governed is whoever's sitting on that side of the House, where Keir Starmer is presently sitting and where Kemi Badenoch used to sit, doesn't seem to do anything. No. And whoever's sitting on the opposition benches is demanding action. So whether it's a blue government or a red government, none of this seems to happen. This is a really major problem.
But they did nothing about it. Kemi Badenoch was Minister for Women and Girls.
So let's play politics with it if we want. I don't really care whether it's a red rosette or a blue rosette who let this go through. Let's call an end to it now. Yeah. There are hundreds of public officials, police officers and people who work in social services who, in my view, need to be criminally prosecuted for turning a blind eye. And I'm interested in hearing from the Prime Minister about how he's going to bring that about. If it doesn't need a national inquiry, fine, bring that about.
In the meantime, the bill that was voted on today needed to go through to protect, to add more protection.
Why didn't the Prime Minister say you can confidently expect hundreds of prosecutions of public officials are going to happen in the coming weeks?
Because he's a coward. Well, one thing I want to say here, and it's something that not a lot of people will say, Labour will not call a national inquiry on this grooming gangs because they are scared for their Muslim vote. Potentially 3 million votes could go out the window if it looks like they are going hard after these communities. Now, as Mark said, Labour are in this up to their neck, from councillors to whatever
level. It's not just Labour. It's
yes.
How dare you say that? There's Conservatives. Come on.
Look, the way you just said this just perfectly described the whole uniparty situation at the moment, and why reform probably next week are going to be flying high in the polls. There's a YouGov poll next week, and I will be surprised and shocked if reform aren't near the top.
Just lastly, Nina, we're going to ask you a bit quick on this. Do you think that Labour are scared of doing something that would alienate the Muslim vote more than they already did over Gulf?
No, I absolutely think that has nothing to do with it. Keir Starmer has been working since decades to try and help this problem. He changed the rules within the DPP to see that people were brought to book, and he prosecuted more sexual, people who sexual assault cases.
Not many state officials, though.
Well, that may well come. Hopefully, it will.
Certainly hope so, and quick.
All right, guys. Well, look, thank you very much for a lively start to the hour. Coming up, all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and just in time for something a little bit different. Can you tell me what's going on here, please?
Just wondered. I can't see it on the menu, but where do I get the 5 Guys from?
But first, it's 5 years since Harry and Meghan shocked the world and left the royal family. But since then, their departure has been marred. There was Oprah, failed Spotify contract, rubbish Netflix documentaries. So it's 5 years since Megxit. Shall we have a look at where they are now? Stay tuned.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Figures released by the National Child Measurement Programme in 2024 found that almost 1 in 10 children was obese in the first year of school. Children living in deprived areas are twice as likely to be overweight as those in more affluent parts. Organisations like the Prepped Foundation are educating youngsters about healthy eating by giving them the skills to create balanced meals. TV chef James Golding has joined the foundation as the head of food education, and he joins me now to talk about the work. James, lovely to see you here.
Good to see you too, Mike. So Prepped used to be Table Talk Foundation, and it's now obviously Prep for Life, Prep for Knowledge. It's basically a charity to encourage kids to have a better understanding of food, but at the same time enjoy cooking and hopefully make better food choices in their life, as well as perhaps, you know, share the information we give them with their families.
Do you see them developing an understanding of the difference between healthy and unhealthy food?
Yes, I think that, you know, kids tend to sort of be taught a lot of this in school, but being able to actually ask questions to a chef and be able to cook with produce which they know is one, that is going to be tasty because they've tasted it, but two, open their eyes to food that they may not have tried before. I think that, you know, I think a lot of kids say they don't want to try stuff because they don't like the way it looks, but the way that we produce our sessions, you know, we encourage the kids to try, and I think it really does open their eyes. It's very easy, I think, currently to be able to make easier choices, say fast food choices or you know, that type of thing, and it's obviously giving people the ability to make the right choices, but also the skills to be able to do it. So I think it's something that needs to be addressed and something that really needs to be pushed, and that's what we're doing as a charity.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. And 5 years ago today, Harry and Meghan shocked the world when they announced that they were stepping back from royal life in what has since been dubbed Megxit. Many royal experts thought the future of the royal family was in doubt after the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's bombshell Oprah Winfrey interview, their scornful Netflix documentary, and Harry's autobiography Spare, that took aim at William and Catherine. But 2024 proved that that wasn't the case, as huge crowds received King Charles and Queen Camilla across the world, and royal fans were vocal for their support for the King and Princess Kate through their recent recovery from cancer treatment. Well, I'm pleased to be joined now by entertainment and royal journalist Sarah Louise Robertson. Sarah, thank you very, very much. Great to have you on the show. So, Megxit, 5 years on, how's it gone for them?
It couldn't have gone any worse. I remember, as you pointed out there, Patrick, 5 years ago, one senior courtier called this move a declaration of war on the royal family. Well, this is a war that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have lost. They are the losers in this whole sordid affair, and the royal family have come out stronger, more unified and better than ever. If you go up against the firm, you're always going to lose. And Meghan thought she could get away with pulling these moves. She thought she could ambush our late Queen. It was so disgusting what she did. She thought she could ambush our late Queen, ambush our royal family, ambush Britain, and fool the public. And she may have fooled a few people, but she did not fool the majority.
Well, and now, Sarah Louise, now she's baking cakes on Netflix, isn't she? What a ride!
How she's falling, Patrick. How she's fallen. Yes, how the mighty do fall. You know, she had it all in her hands to play with. It was all there to play with. She had the HRH title. She could have gone on to do wonderful things. And what's she now? A reality star. She's not even a working actress anymore. This new cookery show, Netflix have put it in the reality side of their categories. What a come down that is. She's gone from being an HRH, a princess of the British realm, an amazing opportunity, an opportunity people would kill to have. And now she's just labelled a Netflix reality star.
You can't buy class, can you? That's the thing.
You can't. And she thought she could pull the wool over the Queen's eyes, over everybody's eyes, and she has failed.
I wonder how Harry's feeling 5 years on. I wonder how, because the other aspect of this is so Megxit happened, you know, Harry and Meghan off into the sunset, and then this year they've decided to, for the majority of it, professionally uncouple in what they've been doing, which in itself implies that it mustn't have gone as well as they thought it should have done.
Well, exactly. When they started off, Patrick, and you know I've said this to you many times before on your show, and I'll keep saying it again. They started off, she said they were like salt and pepper. They had to move together. They were meant to be this unifying force. What's happened now? We don't see them together in public anymore. She's doing her thing. She's going down the avenue of reality TV. And Harry's trying, I think, to do some of his charity work. He's trying to do something, I think, with the Archwell Foundation. He did the book. We won't even go there again. And he did this polo documentary, of which he was in just one episode for a few seconds. That seems to have been a bit of a flop. We won't see a second series of that. So what really does that leave him? He has the Invictus Games, which I give him credit there. That was the best thing he ever did. And I will not take that away from Harry. And his military record as well. That goes
I still think he could maybe come back. I still think that if he held his hands up, and some things happen, that maybe the British public would.
He'd have to beg his brother. He'd have to beg his brother. The sticking point here is Prince William. Charles, yes, misses his son. I will say that again. He does. And he would love it if Harry could come back, but eat humble pie and apologise to Charles's wife, Queen Camilla. If he could do that, I think Charles would find it in his heart to forgive him. He's a religious man. I've spoken about this before in newspaper pieces I've written. He believes in the power of forgiveness. But Prince William, at the moment, still is very, very angry at what his brother has done to bring shame and try to bring shame and embarrassment on the royal family. But it backfired. The shame and embarrassment is on Harry.
Look, this is it. And, you know, they're out pressing the flesh in Colombia or wherever else they want to go, and that's what they've got now. Sarah, thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. Sarah Louise Robertson, there, entertainment and royal journalist. Right, OK. Well, coming up, I've got the very first look at tomorrow's newspaper front pages. I'll bring you them in just a few minutes. And can you tell me what's going on here, please?
Just wondered, I can't see it on the menu, but where do I get the 5 Guys from?
I'll reveal all very soon.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's going to stay cold over the next 24 hours with further snow and icy patches for some, although for much of the UK it's clear and dry overnight and into Thursday. We've seen this low pressure move up from the southwest during Wednesday, bringing with it a band of rain, sleet and snow, and that messy mixture of wintry weather remains as we go into the evening, but it does eventually fizzle away towards the southeast, leaving behind falling temperatures and icy roads and pavements. There'll also be icy patches in the north and west where we continue to see sleet and snow showers move in on a cold wind. Inland temperatures dropping as low as -5 or -6 in urban areas and in some sheltered rural spots, particularly where we've got snow cover, for example, across parts of Scotland and northern England, temperatures could dip into the minus double digits. So widely a cold, frosty and in some places icy start to Thursday. Further wintry flurries into the north coast of Northern Ireland as well as the north coast of Scotland. 1 or 2 there for North Wales as well as northwest England. But for the vast majority, actually, it's a fine start to the day. Yes, it will be cold and there'll be some slippery surfaces around, but there'll be plenty of Dry, bright, crisp winter weather. Best of the sunshine, southern Scotland, parts of the Midlands, eastern and southern England. And it's going to continue to feel very cold out there, especially in the wind across northern Scotland and down the North Sea coast. Temperatures struggling to get to 1 to 3 Celsius, and in some places where we've got snow cover and some hills, for example, temperatures not going above 0. So we keep that cold air in place for Friday, but at the same time, another Atlantic system will move in, bringing once more a mix of rain, sleet and snow. But it's a temporary wintry spell because as it moves in, temperatures slowly lift over the weekend.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. We are going to do tomorrow's front pages now. So start with the eye. Reeves faces extra tax rises or cutting public services as UK's borrowing costs turn toxic. The Daily Express. It's blindingly obvious we need a care plan. Keir Starmer's 3-year delay in reforming social care is inappropriately long, apparently. The Metro. Groomed by gangs, butchered on a bus at 14. Mum's tears at rapper's knife killing, which is the grieving mum of the 14-year-old who was stabbed on a bus yesterday, apparently. So, yes, there we go. The Guardian, mass evacuations in Los Angeles as deadly wildfires wreak havoc. We're going to play you some footage of those wildfires shortly. The Daily Telegraph, Treasury steps in to halt market mayhem. They've also got a story here. Islamophobia law would ban discussion of Asian grooming gangs. That's in quotes. So that's one of the things. They've also got the picture story there of a baby born on a migrant dinghy, which is remarkable things in more ways than one. The Times, take back ISIS Britons, says Trump's terror chief. Well, let's zone in on this one. Why not? This is in front of the Times. The UK must show commitment to America by accepting Islamic State members held in Syrian prisons. Britain must bring back UK members of Islamic State held in Syrian prison camps as the price of a special relationship with Donald Trump. What do you make of this, Mark?
This is quite odd. I've tried to read all of the fine print here, Patrick. I mean, I didn't expect Donald Trump to say that the price of a trade deal is that Shamima Begum must return
we must have
her in the United Kingdom.
I'll only do it if you get...
I suspect what's meant, having not gone through all of the terms and conditions, is that stateless people in Syria are going to have to be relocated somewhere. That doesn't mean that they necessarily need to come back to the UK, but they should be the responsibility of the UK, I guess, if they were previously UK citizens. I guess it reopens the whole issue about whether you need a Rwanda sort of plan about where you can put people if you don't want them in these islands.
It seems a bit odd.
Very odd.
I thought it was going to be that they've got ISIS. British ISIS things in American prisons, and they don't want them.
No. That'd be fair enough.
And that they want, we need to take them back.
Let me just tell you now, the majority of the British public do not want Shamima Begum here. No one wants her living next to them.
I can't believe Donald Trump wants her here.
No, but the point is, if they are our citizens, and she's been,
not our citizen.
I was going to say she's been stripped of citizenship, and you have to also debate whether we have the right to do that. But if they're a problem, they're our problem, and we should take care of them.
I don't want her here. I don't want her next to me.
She's not going to be next to you.
What Nina's saying, but I think just take care of them means that they are located somewhere, not necessarily in these islands.
Well, they're brought to prisons here.
prisons here or relocated?
There should be prisons here. I mean, why not? They are our responsibility. You can't say we don't like them, we don't agree with what they've done. They are not ours. They are British. They are British.
I mean, beg them to strip her.
Put her in the Chagos Islands.
That was wrong. That was wrong.
It's been resolved. I mean, you might not like the outcome, but it was resolved.
It was resolved, but it was a wrong decision.
You put her in the Chagos Islands.
I put her in the Chagos Islands.
What have the Chagos Islanders ever done to deserve that?
What have we done?
Exactly.
Because she's not from the Chagos Islands.
Yeah.
She is from this country. She was born in this country. She is basically a British...
But it's not just her. It is, supposing you find British citizens in you know, the ashes of Syria, what should we do with them? And I think it's reasonable for the incoming administration to say, we need to answer that headache. Doesn't necessarily mean they come
absolutely,
here.
Absolutely.
So the contrast though between this, if indeed this emerges as truth, which bizarrely now Donald Trump is desperate for us to take ISIS fighters from Syria, otherwise we won't get a trade deal. What was it? Isn't the contrast there, though, with the way that we are not deporting Pakistani grooming gang members and holding Pakistan to account on this and going, we'll cut off some elements of our trade.
Still giving foreign aid.
If you don't, like, this just shows you, right, this might be a bit mad, fine, but it's...
Trump understands that geopolitics is game theory. It's like chess. And Keir Starmer's not playing multi-dimensional chess. He's not even at the drafts board level. It's not even snakes and ladders.
But the thing with Syria is at a real crossroads, and it could go either way, but it has a chance to become a democracy. It does have a chance, and we should give it every chance possible.
Okay. Just quickly on the I front page, I think it's worthwhile doing this because we've done a lot on that kind of stuff. So let's just do a bit on the economy, because Reeves is facing extra tax rises or cutting public services as UK's borrowing costs turn toxic. Adam,
once the grooming gang furore calms down, this should be the front page of every newspaper, because the Labour government, the Labour when they was in opposition, attacked Truss and the economy tanking under Truss. This is a disaster. Their budget is a disaster for the UK, for the bonds, for small businesses like myself. We are looking at catastrophic 2025, and people don't realise how bad this is going to become.
It's worse than that, Adam. It's worse than that. The Reeves and Starmer and others criticised Liz Truss for crashing the economy. What was their metric? It was how difficult is it for the British government and how expensive is it to borrow money to keep us going? Under Reeves and Starmer, it's now more expensive than it was in the wake of the mini-budget. But the reason it's even worse than what you say, Adam, is the trajectory is still going up. The money markets are more and more nervous about lending the British government money. Doesn't mean we're going to run out of money overnight, but it means the premium we're paying on it is going up and up and up.
You cannot...
servicing our debt is going
Where's
up.
the mirror?
You cannot just blame Reeves, Starmer, this government for the financial mess that this country is in. You had
a disaster,
and so you completely obliterate the 14 years that have gone before.
I've attacked the Tories as well.
Reeves' position was that the gilt yield after the Truss mini-budget counted as crashing the economy. The gilt yield is now measurably higher than it was under the mini-budget. So if Liz Truss crashed the economy, these people have crashed it twice. Now, what might get that down? It requires, I think, big public spending restraint, which the Labour government has shown no interest in doing. Public spending is going to have to come down markedly, and at some point the IMF will intervene and make sure that happens if the government doesn't. But they've shown largesse there. And if taxes continue to go up, then I'm afraid this will continue to go in the wrong direction.
Yes,
so it makes us a less desirable
they are trying to fix up the mess that was left by the Conservatives. The black hole. The black hole.
The building.
They haven't.
They've thrown a nuclear bomb in the building.
They haven't. I mean, the 22 billion hole, and you say, that's a big hole. It has to be filled
by this government's decisions.
We're going to move on to something completely different now, because controversial OnlyFans creator Bonnie Blue, who plans to sleep with 1,000 men in 24 hours, was publicly rejected in a Five Guys restaurant this week by a devout Christian.
Just wondered, I can't see it on the menu, but where do I get the Five Guys from? The Five Guys. I didn't know if it was like a special room or you can take me out back.
I'm a Christian man and I'm seeing myself to marriage.
I'm asking for what's on the menu, that's all.
Genuinely, I feel like I'm doing it right now. I can hand you a menu if you want.
Are you on it?
No, I'm not.
Oh, that's a shame.
What do we make of that?
Why do you give this woman screen time? Why do you give this woman screen time?
That guy tweeted out, the guy in that clip, that he didn't know he was being filmed and he didn't know that they put that out. So the point there, yeah. So can you imagine if that was the other way around? I'm not being funny, but if that was a bloke going up to a woman, saying that kind of stuff, secretly filming them, putting it out, I don't think that's on, Nina.
Don't give this woman publicity. Why do you do it? Because is she some kind of secret male fantasy? What is it?
No,
why? So why? Well, exactly. So why are we giving it publicity?
Behaviour is extreme, but apparently consensual.
Yeah. You say that, but
do you not think that is?
But having discussed all evening men's sexual behaviour towards women as one thing, and then you suddenly promote this woman. You're giving her publicity.
So we can't promoting Pakistani rape guns by talking about.
No, we're not promoting. But you are highlighting it.
She does what she does. She's an influencer.
Look at you. You're sniggering like teenagers.
It's consensual.
That makes it all right, does it?
I'm pointing out.
No, it doesn't.
Talk about the story. At the end of the day, she's an influencer. She's doing this for views and clicks online. She's making hundreds of thousands of pounds a month. This is her job. I spoke to her a few weeks ago in the green room.
So what? And you admire that?
No.
I'll tell you what.
Admire that?
No, I don't.
Well, then why?
The guy behind the till is going to be Five Guys International Employee of the Month.
Yes, he is.
What an absolute chat.
What a legend.
What a legend to behave like that.
Sorry, I'm a Christian man, and I'm waiting for marriage.
Do you know how refreshing?
Absolutely. Good on him. Good on him.
Good on him.
But Nina, we have to highlight things like this.
Praising her.
Otherwise, no one knows things like this go on. You can't just hide things you do not like.
She's already been featured, so why feature her again?
OK, I'm just saying, I found that behaviour ridiculous, right? Anyway, fair enough, we've all got views. Coming up, the rest of tomorrow's front pages. Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
If you're looking to escape the cold weather in the UK and find some winter sun, well, you're in luck. Fine for many parts of southern Europe. And it's looking like there'll be some warm sunshine for the Canaries as well as Madeira. But for Portugal and Spain, particularly towards the north, there'll be some showery rain, more especially parts of the south of France seeing some wet weather. Snow for the Alps there, showers for Italy, and indeed there will be some showers across parts of Greece during the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
With the dawn of the new year come new opportunities for the stage. Stefan Kyriazis joins us now to share how he started 2025.
We've got Sigourney Weaver, Hollywood star, coming in as Prospero in The Tempest. It's an experience. Sigourney Weaver has got this kind of patrician presence. She's always on stage, sat watching or stalking the area. But she doesn't quite get the Shakespearean rhythms for me. We've got more trauma for you, and we've got a little clip to run first. Cat on a hot tin roof. I don't know how people's Christmases were with their families, but this is a very unhappy family, so you can feel good about your family, whatever they're like. This is Tennessee Williams' deeply unhappy story of a family in sort of plantation south. The patriarch, Big Daddy, is dying, although he doesn't know it yet. Everyone is manoeuvring around him. Everyone is pretty unpleasant, pretty unhappy. It's all based on nobody really telling the truth. Everyone's suppressing things.
Got one more thing for us?
We do, and suddenly sunshine, life, joy. It's Nutcracker, but in Havana. Which is from Carlos Acosta, so a very Cuban feel. And again, we've got a lovely little clip to cheer us all up. Good. With that. there was no Christmas when he was growing up. Castro had banned it all. So we've got this setting in Cuba, and instead of magicians, you've got the uncle coming back from Miami, loads of presents. It's just full of joy, and you've got a reworked music. I love the Tchaikovsky score to death, but this one has been added, so you've got kind of Caribbean flutes and lutes and guitars. Huge exuberance, colourful, bright.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, welcome back. Right, just about got time for the rest of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. The Daily Mail: market turmoil sounds red alert for Chancellor. This is, again, bad news for Labour's economic competence. The Sun: Cheryl stalked by killer. Terror after Liam's funeral. Fan at the house was an ex-con. Apparently, singer Cheryl Tweedy has been stalked by a convicted killer who turned up at the home she shares with her son, Bear. Grief, gosh. The Daily Mirror, they've gone for groomed by gangs, now he is dead. Anguish over loss of only son, Kellyan, 14, in brutal bus stabbing. The 14-year-old who was stabbed to death on a bus yesterday, sadly. The mum has been speaking out. Right, OK, so I just wanted to bring you some footage here of the devastating wildfires in LA. I've claimed at least 2 lives, sadly, as officials have warned that the worst is still to come. There's gusty conditions that are expected to fuel blazes and hinder efforts to stop the fires. This crazy video has surfaced of a man and his dog remaining inside their home, even with flames just inches from the window.
Hi. Just be okay. You're gonna be okay. Hi. You're gonna be okay.
I mean, that is a horror film, isn't it?
That's terrifying.
Absolutely.
I've been to Pacific Palisades, where I went and interviewed Joan Rivers, the American comedian, a few years ago, and it's all little twisty roads and fabulous huge houses. Well, I mean, how you ever get out of a situation like that, I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, we think they did, but we don't. Again, I'm not quite sure how. Right, we're going to have to be quite snappy with this, I'm afraid, but it's Greatest Britain Union Jackass, please. Mark, Greatest Britain.
Look, Patrick, I hate to do this because I am a Tory, but my Greatest Britain, I'm finally going to nominate Kemi Badenoch. She had a rough Christmas. She screwed up against her fight with Nigel Farage over reform members, but she's come out swinging today. And she said she wants to hold the government to account. I think this was a very good way of doing so. I don't think it's playing politics, speaking to the nation. Good on the leader of the Tory party.
Hypocrite.
Mine is Great Ormond Street Hospital for Children. I'm fighting next Saturday, the 18th of January, to try and raise money. There's a link on my Twitter, EssexPR.
It's there, actually, on screen as well. Hoping to raise money for Great Ormond Street Hospital. So you can go to Adam's Twitter and follow that link. GoFundMe.com/F/fighting to help raise money for... Gosh, there you go. Nina, who's your Greatest Britain?
Rod Stewart, who is currently in the middle of a 10-day holiday on a multi-million-pound yacht with his entire family, which is many and varied, because it's his 80th birthday on Friday, and I think that's worth celebrating, and nobody would grudge him a fabulous holiday like that.
Right, OK, Rod, good stuff. Look, today's winner of the Greatest Britain Award, well, it's going to have to be, Adam. Adam himself for doing the fight to raise money for Great Ormond Street Hospital. Although I will say that Kemi Badenoch was a close second. Rod Stewart's all right as well. But we're not going to have time for Union Jackass, I'm afraid, tonight. Sorry about this. I don't think. But,
mine was Channel 4. They should be discussing.
Mine was Robert Jenrick, hypocrite of the year, politics. Robert Jenrick. Woof.
From that noise that I got there, I'm going to go for Channel 4. So there we go. Up next is Headliners, presented by Josh Howie. Josh, what's on your show?
First of all, I'm just slightly distracted by Adam Brooks's photo of his muscles. They were incredibly impressive.
We all are.
Congratulations, Adam. We have a great show. We have the economy. Is it going to explode? The LA situation, what's going on there? And also, don't say grooming gangs. It might be racist. We also have Nick Dixon and Jojo Sutherland. It's going to be a lot of laughs. We're going to find out lots of stuff. It's going to be a great show, so please do tune in.
Well done, Josh. It will be absolutely fantastic. As ever, make sure that you just keep it GB News for one more hour. There's a lot to get stuck into in those front pages, especially, as he was saying, interesting that a lot of the front pages are going with economic turmoil. Gosh, it's the economy, stupid. Well, if they've got that wrong, then they could be in even more trouble than we thought. Thank you very much, our wonderful panel. It's been a tough show tonight in many respects because of the nature of the topic and all of that, but important, I think, that we did it. So thank you very much, all of you. I'll be back with you tomorrow at 9 p.m. and I'm planning on having a little bit of a surprise for you for tomorrow's show, but I'll probably tell you about it on Twitter in the morning, so stay tuned.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Evening, time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. The wintry weather continues to cause some problems. Met Office warnings remain in place. Snow across the south, an amber warning across parts of the southwest during this evening before it all starts to pull away. But some sleet and snow still falling across the southeast well into the night before that edges away. Snow showers coming in across northern Scotland, the north of Northern Ireland, likely to turn things icy. And then some wintry showers later in the night filter into western parts of Wales down towards Cornwall. For many, it's just a dry night, a clear night and a very cold night. -4, -5 in towns and cities, rural spots getting to minus double digits. So a very cold, very frosty start. Also some freezing fog patches around, particularly over parts of Northern Ireland and Northern England. All the wet weather should be out of the way by first thing in the morning across the south, but it could be icy. These showers coming into West Wales and Cornwall could still make things icy. Some snow here and in the showers coming into the north of Northern Ireland and across northern parts of Scotland will continue to feed wintry showers in here during Thursday morning. So still potentially very icy out there. Also frosty conditions and some dense fog patches. But actually for many, it'll be a bright, fine winter's day on Thursday. Plenty of blue sky, plenty of sunshine to be had. Still a few showers grazing West Wales. And certainly more snow showers coming in across northern Scotland. But elsewhere, I say, quite a bit of sunshine. If the fog sticks, temperatures may not get above freezing. Some glens of Scotland may stay below freezing all day as well. But generally, temperatures creeping up 2 or 3 degrees. Still pretty cold, though, and again, a hard frost on Friday morning. Temperatures again like to get to minus double digits in rural spots. Notice though some wet weather coming into the southwest. Again, this is going to be a messy mixture of rain, sleet and some snow coming into parts of Wales and southwest England. Again, many other areas dry and fine on Friday. After a frosty start, temperatures struggling to 2 or 3 degrees for most.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine how £50,000 in cash from us could make your new year go with a bang. From treats to holidays to fun times with the family, a totally tax-free £50,000 in cash could make you feel alive in 2025. And just one entry into the Great British Giveaway really could make £50,000 cash all yours. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries costs £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Teenage girls are out drinking their male peers in the UK at a greater rate than any other European country. Yes, more than a third of 15-year-old girls in the UK report getting repeatedly drunk, compared to less than a quarter of boys the same age. I suppose what I'd say to this is, boys, what are you doing? Pull yourself together. Well, joining me now is the editor-at-large at the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths, and the former Labour advisor, Matthew Larzer. Charlotte, you're going to have to speak up on behalf of girls the country over here. 15-year-old girls boozing much more than their male counterparts.
I think it's to do with the pain threshold, so we can handle hangovers better.
Do you ever get hangovers when you're 15 years old?
Oh, yeah. I was drinking hooch and smelling.
Absolutely. Whatever happened to hooch?
Yeah. And I just think we can tolerate it better. Right. And I don't know, I grew up in that kind of wild child 90s drinking era. I'm showing my age a bit. And, God, we drank a lot as teenage girls. I mean, it's actually shocking now in retrospect.
Well, I also think in terms of boys versus girls, I wonder if we've got a bit of a thing about... I mean, the old cliche that girls develop quicker, they can become social quicker. They can certainly get into the pub more easily because they look older. Yeah. You know, because of makeup, etc. I wonder if the boys are all just, you know, in their rooms playing on their devices, as it were.